Okay, here is part 2 of the video. I got cut off in that last one, so I'm going to finish it up here. So to evaluate an algebraic expression, step 1, we had already said, was to substitute the numbers for the variables. Now, what I was getting ready to say is that you should use parentheses around the number if it is being multiplied or raised to a power. So if that number I'm subbing in is being multiplied or raised to a power, then I need to put it inside of parentheses. And then step 2 is to use GEMDAS to evaluate. So substitute the numbers for the variables using parentheses for the number if it's multiplied or raised to a power, and then use GEMDAS to evaluate. All right, so let's look at a couple more examples here before we finish up. So we're going to evaluate n squared minus 3n plus 8. So n is being raised to a power, and then it's being multiplied by a number right here, because we know that means -3 times n. So n is equal to 4. So I'm going to sub 4 in for n here, and then sub 4 in for n here. Now, because 4 is going to get raised to the second power, I am going to wrap 4 inside parentheses. Then I've got minus 3n, which I know means 3 times n. So because 4 is being multiplied, I'm going to wrap that 4 in parentheses as well. So anytime my number is being raised to a power or it's being multiplied, I'm going to wrap it in parentheses. So here is what my expression should look like when I get it all plugged in. Now it's time to evaluate using GEMDAS. So I look at my expression first to see if I have any grouping symbols. I've got parentheses here, but nothing to do inside. And I've got parentheses here, but nothing to do inside. So none of those parentheses are grouping symbols. Do I have an exponent? Yes, I do. So I'm going to do 4 to the second power, which we know means 4 times 4. So that's going to be 16 minus 3 times 4 plus 8. No more exponents. All right, do I see multiplying or dividing? Well, I have 16 minus 3 times 4 plus 8. So right there's a multiplication I need to do. So next I'm going to do 3 times 4. So this is going to be 16 minus 12 plus 8. No more multiplying or dividing. And so finally, I want to do adding and subtracting. So I have 16 minus 12, so there's a subtraction, plus 8. There's an addition. So I have both. So remember what we said before, same priority level. Okay, so which one is first in the problem? So 16 minus 12. The subtraction is first, so I'm going to do that first. So 16 minus 12 is 4. And then 4 plus 8 is 12. So when I plugged in this 4, when I subbed it in, I put it in parentheses because it's raised to a power. When I subbed in this 4, I put it in parentheses because of the multiplication. That's the most important thing on this, is that you remember to add those parentheses. All right. Just a couple more problems here that I want us to take a look at. So we're evaluating 2x plus 5y if x is a -1 and y is 3. So we're going to sub in -1 for x, and we're going to sub in 3 for y. Now, Notice I have 2x. I know that means 2 times x. So because I am multiplying there, I'm going to put my -1 in parentheses. Plus 5y. I know that means 5 times y. So again here, I'm going to put that 3 in parentheses. So I have 2 times -1 plus 5 times 3. To evaluate our old buddy GEMDOS. All right, so grouping symbols. Neither set of parentheses here is grouping because there's only one number inside. There's nothing to do. Don't see any exponents in that problem. I do see multiplications, 2 times -1 and 5 times 3. So I'm going to work left to right. 2 times -1 is a -2 plus 5 times 3 is 15. I'm going to go ahead and do both of those in the same step. And then finally, the adding, -2 plus 15 is 13. So again here, the reason I put -1 in parentheses is because it's 2 times x, so 2 times -1. And the reason I put that 3 in parentheses because it's 5 times y, 5 times 3. So I'm using those parentheses to show my multiplication. Okay, now let's do this one. We're evaluating an expression that looks a little more complicated. All right, so we have 2 times x minus y. We're going to sub in 2 for the x minus y. We're going to sub in 6 for the y. And then minus 4z, we're plugging in -3 for the z. All right, so let's go ahead and start writing this down. All right, 2 parentheses. Now, when I sub in 2 for this x, you'll notice that it's just a plain old x. There's no exponent on it. There's nothing multiplied by it, so I don't need to put that 2 in parentheses. All right, minus y. You'll notice again, just a plain y. It's not raised to a power. There's nothing multiplied by it, so I don't need to add parentheses. I can just do that, 2 minus 6. Minus 4z. Now notice 4z means 4 times z. So because this is multiplying, I will need to put my -3 in parentheses. So just a plain x, I can sub in, just a plain y, I can sub in, but when I see 4 times z, I got to put that -3 in parentheses to show that that's multiplying. All right, let's do a little GEMDOS. All right, look at your problem. Do you have grouping symbols? And the answer is this time, yes, you do, because here are parentheses, and there's something we can do inside. So we're going to do 2 minus 6 first. So this is going to be 2 times a -4 minus 4 times a -3. So grouping symbols now are done. Looking at our expression, does it have any exponents? And the answer is no, it doesn't. Looking at our expression, does it have multiplying or dividing? And the answer is yes, it has multiplication a couple of places. So working left to right, I have 2 times -4. When I multiply 2 times -4, I'm going to get -8 minus 4 times -3 is a -12. And you'll use your calculator to help you with those signed numbers to make sure we don't make any mistakes there. Now notice here I put -12 in parentheses because it's minus a -12, and I didn't want to lose one of those signs. All right, now finally we're going to do our subtracting. -8 minus -12. Now you all may remember the keep it, change it rule. Keep the -8, change minus to plus, and change -12 to 12, to positive 12. And then when I add -8 plus 12, I get 4 as my answer. Okay, let's do one last one. X plus 5 squared minus y. All right, I am going to sub -8 where this x is. Then I am going to sub a -4 where this y is. All right, So when I sub in -8 for x, notice it's a plain old x. It's not to a power. There's nothing multiplied by it. So I don't need to put that -8 in its own set of parentheses. Then I have plus 5 squared minus y, and I'm subbing in -4 for that y. Again, no exponent here, no multiplication going on. I am, though, since there's already a minus sign and I'm putting in a -4, I am going to put the -4 in parentheses so I don't mess that up. All right, so now for GEMDOS. Do we have grouping symbols? Right here are parentheses, and inside we have something to do. So we're going to do that. -8 plus 5 is -3, so we have -3 squared minus a -4. All right, do we have exponents? Yes, we do. We have -3 squared. Remember, if you type that in the calculator, to put -3 in parentheses. -3 squared means -3 times -3. So we get 9 from that minus a -4. No multiplying or dividing in that problem, but we do have a subtraction. So 9 minus -4. Remember, we can keep it, change it, change it. So keep the 9, change the minus to a plus, change -4 to a +4, and then 9 plus 4 is 13. So we're still doing GEMDOS. It's just that now you're going to have to sub numbers into the problem. Remember, when you're subbing in, if the number is raised to a power or multiplied by something, put it in parentheses. If you have any questions at all, let me know. Thanks a bunch.